we don't often like dream big when it comes to ourselves. So I'd love to learn from you, like, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail?
So I've been thinking a lot about this question from a different angle recently, but I think it's the same underlying question. If you won the lottery, if suddenly some of the really low Maslow's hierarchy of needs wasn't driving you, what would you do? And then trying to do some of it anyway, even though it feels scary. And so what I've come to recently is the idea of life design. So what I want to do, what is radical to me, is to be able to get myself in a position where the business that I love can keep delivering impact, even if for certain periods of my life, I want to step away. So if I want to have kids, I can take maternity leave and feel out in the moment how much time I want to spend, how much time do I want to spend with my kid. And that is a luxury that is actually quite radical. Like, that would be mad if I could create that. But that for me is also really, really exciting. And then I want to give myself permission to do that in the small ways. So whether that's working a 4-day week every other week, whether that's making sure that actually I'm not waiting to book trips to spend time with family and friends because I'm thinking about, well, do I need to be here for work? No, let's prioritize the things that matter. So for me, it's actually the smallest parts of life design. I think often when we think about removing the idea of failure, we start to go to these crazy ambitions, which I love, 10x, not 10%, you talk about a lot, which I really value. But sometimes I actually think it's about enabling ourselves to talk to the smaller things in our life that would make a really meaningful difference to our sense of purpose, to our mental health, to our ability to do this in the long term, not burn ourselves out in the process. And so actually that's where I go to increasing with this question. What do I allow myself to change in the day-to-day now, not waiting for the big shifts, even though I'm scared that making those changes might mean I make less money or I have to rethink who I'm serving as my clients.
It's so interesting you talk about life design, because I've been really reflecting on intentional life design, and 8 years ago I had my wife gave birth to my first daughter, who you know well.
Just so great.
And it really shifted my relationship with work, because I realized up to that point, work was like the sun of my universe and everything revolved around work. If they want me to go to South Africa or America, I would go. And when I had my daughter, it kind of changed my relationship, where I wanted my family to be the center of my universe and to revolve around them. And it meant being really intentional with time.
Yeah.
And as an entrepreneur, the thing that I realized I had to improve on was time management. And I canceled 90% of my meetings in my calendar to just have space and time to think. And I noticed two really fundamental shifts in the first 3 weeks. The first was that the quality of my decision making improved.
Yes.
So I was making smart decisions on a consistent basis because I wasn't back-to-back in meetings, always context switching. And the second thing that I realized is that with space and reflection improves ideation and creativity. So I was writing newsletters again, I was writing blogs again, I was coming up with more creative workshops, I was doing more authentic business development through just connecting with people. And I think we really undervalue the value of just having space and time, and how much that links with our future self, our higher self, who we're becoming, right? And what it reminded me was something that is so intangible with self-belief. Like believing in yourself, backing yourself, and having those affirmations that just keep you going so that you then achieve those big goals, like what you're saying, that lifestyle that you desire.
And I think actually a big part of that is surrounding yourself with people who both call out your limiting self-beliefs, but also show you a different model. So for instance, you come and deliver training for Guestworks. Sometimes I'll contact you and you'll say, actually, I'm already away around that time. I can't be away again. I want to spend time with the kids, or it's really important that I'm not blocked out this many evenings in a week. And it's always actually this lovely reminder to me that path is not just possible, but it's the right path. And it's so much easier, I think, to admire in other people the things that we want for ourselves that we're not yet allowing ourselves. And so I think if this is something that interests you, this life design, one challenge I would give you is not just to try and do it alone, which I think is really hard, but to surround yourself with people, actually come together and have these conversations and these questions in a way that feels really safe, to say, well, what would not fearing failure in your day-to-day look like, and what would that unlock, and how would you work if you had a choice? And these kinds of questions. And they may say something you think, oh my gosh, I want that. but also seeing them give themselves permission to try it now might give you the bravery to do it as well.